Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live on TV3 with me, Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up within the next 1 hour. Auctioneer implicated in Auditor General's report for selling vehicles without due process. We would further interrogate the story about how UK government's communication with Parliament about visa fraud leaked and examine if there are any diplomatic ramifications. On the international front, US plans to activate a missile defense system in South Korea within days and tighten economic sanctions against North Korea. We have details of all these stories and more, including entertainment, business, and sports, all coming up for you. Now, I'll go straight to our first story, which has to do with the news making rounds about that surprise story where some members of Parliament have been implicated or have been targeted as fraudsters, visa fraudsters. So the British Home Office is investigating 3 sitting members of Parliament and a former MP over allegations of visa fraud. A letter written to the Speaker of Parliament by the British High Commissioner to Ghana, John Benjamin, has given the strongest indication yet of a possible sanction of up to 10 years visa ban for the named members of Parliament. TV3's Komla Kluche has more in this report.
British High Commission in Ghana, in a leaked letter to the Speaker of Parliament, stated that on September 11, 2012, former Member of Parliament for Esunafo South, George Boakye, applied for visas for himself and his 37-year-old daughter, Joyce Boakye, to visit a friend in London for 17 days, and the visas were granted on September 14, 2012. On January 17, 2013, Joyce Boakye travelled to the UK with the father. Joyce Boakye did not leave the UK with the father, but remained until January 6, 2017, when she returned. The High Commission says, having illegally stayed in the United Kingdom over 3 years, George Boakye is highly unlikely to be issued any further visas to visit the UK in the next 10 years. On November 27, 2015, the Member of Parliament for Bia is Richard Champon also applied for a UK visa using diplomatic passport number DX001490. The MP stated in his application form that he would travel to the UK for a 2-week holiday with his wife Esther Tiwa. On December 12, 2015, both were issued with a visa, but Esther Tiwa alone travelled on December 24, 2015 without Richard Champon. She has not left the United Kingdom since that time and is therefore an illegal resident. The British High Commission further argued that the Member of Parliament was challenged with the fact, after which he repeatedly promised to personally bring documentation to prove that Esther Tiwa was indeed his wife, but has consistently failed to do so. Neither has he been prepared to share any useful information to help track down Ms. Tiwa, whose current whereabouts is unknown. The High Commission stated, should the MP now apply for another UK visa at any point until December 12, 2025, his previous actions with regards to Esther Tiwa will weigh heavily against his application and is likely to be refused. On April 4, 2016, the Member of Parliament for Ntotroso, Joseph Benhazen Daha, applied for a UK visa using diplomatic passport number DX001459 to go on a 2-week holiday. The MP stated he was travelling with his wife Gloria Danso and his niece Beatrice Mensah. On April 11, 2016, the visas of the MP and Gloria Dasu were issued, but that of his supposed niece, Beatrice Mensah, was refused. Daha further applied in another country for a visa to travel to the Republic of Ireland with his wife and daughter. The identity of his wife had changed from Gloria Danso in the UK application to Rulian Apau In the Irish visa application, a birth certificate was submitted showing that Beatrice Mensah was now his daughter and is not niece as stated in a UK visa application. Daha's UK visa was cancelled and a 10-year UK visa ban has been slapped on him. On June 20, 2016, the Member of Parliament for Halfwa North South West Johnson Kwekuedu applied for visas for himself, his wife Grace Yeboah and their 16-year-old daughter Emanuela Edu in order to visit London for a 10-day holiday. The MP applied using his diplomatic passport number DX002267. All three visas were granted on July 7, 2016. The family of the three travelled to the UK on July 25, 2016. The MP left the UK 2 days after they had arrived, leaving behind his supposed wife and child according to the High Commission. The two are still in the UK illegally till date, the High Commission has noted. The British High Commission has stated that the Member of Parliament knowingly facilitated the movement of a minor who cannot currently be traced into the United Kingdom.
If there are a small number, incidentally, from both the main political parties who betray that trust and who may be involved in deliberately trying to circumvent our visa policy, with the result that people end up illegally in the UK. And we have an absolute responsibility to act in accordance with UK immigration law.
The British government says it takes a strong exception to allegations of visa fraud to have been coming from the legislature by some members of parliament will have dire consequences on some members of parliament and to some extent Ghanaians who will be applying for visa from the United Kingdom. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Accra.
We want to interrogate this particular issue a bit further, and we've been joined on the line by Dr. Vladimir Ntwi Danso. He is an international relations expert, and we want to put a few questions to him about whether or not if this could have any negative implications on the relationship between Ghana and Ghana and the UK. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers.
There are concerns about how such a quote-unquote sensitive letter leaked, because we know that certain level of information is between, normally could stay at the very high levels and do not trickle down to the very bottom like this one has. Do you think there are any genuine concerns really about the fact that such a sensitive issue has leaked?
If you ask me personally, I don't think so, because more sensitive information have been leaked. WikiLeaks has now been able to make us know even the conversations between presidents and the eavesdropping of other presidents' phones and whatnot and whatnot. These are more serious issues. So leakages come where you don't know where they're coming from. It could have been given by a parliamentarian. It could have come from the parliamentary people themselves. It could have come from some inquisitive, Anas-like journalists who got it and sold it out or did anything. So it is not the leakage that is important. The more important is how we handle it and how we are able to assure ourselves that it does not happen again.
And on that tangent, would you say that those who say maybe because it is not once, not twice, but it's happened over time and severally so, the UK wanted to get to the bottom of it, that is why they may have leaked it?
Yes, possibly. In diplomacy, you use what you call all tools in the tools box. If it was leaked intentionally by the UK government and or the High Commission, then it was for a purpose. And at times you intentionally put out things this way in order to see the reaction so that it informs policy. So diplomacy is just like a loop. So even if it is coming from John Benjamin, it is for a purpose. He would deny it anyway, but they knew why they would do it. If it is they who also organized it in such a way that it could be leaked, it could be, then they also knew why they're doing that, because maybe they want some action on it. In diplomacy, you cause your opponent and or your friend to act in a certain way that you want. It's like you are directing the affairs in order that your security and or your foreign policy might be realized.
Let's look at the substantive issue, the meat of the issue, that members of parliament have, acted untoward with regard to visa acquisition. Is it that sensitive that it shouldn't come out? It shouldn't have come out in the media?
Well, what I'm saying is this: that whether it is sensitive or not, it could have come to the media anyway. But most such cases are also handled quietly on the diplomatic level, and actions are taken and whatnot. But that it has come to the media, for me, is better in the sense that it is a sign that this is going on in the generality of the Ghanaian society, and members of parliament are even involved. For me, it's no surprise because we know, it's no secret, that in Ghana these things are happening. Not quite long ago, the media brought out a white man with a diplomatic passport. We haven't done anything about it. We are known to have given diplomatic passports also to criminals, allegedly. Nayeli Ametepe was alleged to have flashed a diplomatic passport in the face of U.S. officials who were arresting her, even though she traveled on an Austrian passport. Come to think of it, a Ghanaian, Austrian passport, diplomatic passport. All these things are negative things within our system. I think somebody wants to stop it, and we must stop it.
Okay, but the second leg of this interview would have to do with parliamentarians being issued with diplomatic passports. People are saying that really they are just supposed to be legislating on our behalf. Why would we want to give them a diplomatic passport? For which reason there are even comments that should be reviewed. Do you think that it is a legitimate call?
Well, legitimate in the sense that it's not almost everybody that should be given a diplomatic passport. And in actual fact, the parliamentarians do some diplomatic work. For example, if they belong to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, if they are traveling on behalf of the government for some kind of missions and or negotiations, they need to do their travel on a separate passport. And therefore, if they are given diplomatic passport, there's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong with it is what they do with the diplomatic passport and how they are issued, what rules are around diplomatic passports. Maybe they are not very much well educated on these, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should do their work well. A diplomatic passport enjoins you to enjoy diplomatic immunity in some situations. That when you have a diplomatic passport, you cannot be subjected to any kind of rules and regulations and whatnot. I mean, when you have a diplomatic passport, you could even kill out there. And then all you have to do is to inform your government. And the best they could do is to ask your government to waive the diplomatic immunity before they can arrest you and try you. You understand?
Right.
So diplomatic passport has a big weight, and we must respect it as such. The international community, there's international law on it, and that law must be obeyed. And that is why the passport must also have that weight and respect.
Right. We are grateful for your insight and your time for speaking to us. Dr. Vladimir Ntwidanso is an international relations expert, sharing his thoughts on whether or not there really is a debate about the leakage of the letter regarding the members of parliament who allegedly have been arrested or have been cited for involving themselves in some visa fraud. We'll keep an eye on it and see how it unfolds. And then later, we'll also bring you who should have a diplomatic passport, and then if you are a bearer of a diplomatic passport, to what extent can you use it and who can have one. In a related development, though, the Speaker of Parliament is to institute a probe into the allegations of the visa fraud which has been brought against some members of the House. The Director of Public Affairs in Parliament, Kate Addo, says that the Speaker will use appropriate parliamentary procedure to bring finality to the matter.
First of all, have you received the letter from the British High Commission about the former MP and 3 sitting MPs who have been involved in visa fraud?
Well, yes. I don't know whether I can call it visa fraud, but there are problems with visa acquisition which were granted. We have received, Mr. Speaker has received letters to that effect, yes.
Yeah. And what is the response from the Speaker, if you know?
Well, at the moment, Mr. Speaker himself is out of the country. I spoke to him this morning. He assured me that when he comes, he's going to put the matter to rest. But before that, I do know that Mr. Speaker mentioned when the letter arrived that he was going to deal with the matter. The people involved were called several times to his office. The leadership of the House have been engaged on the matter, and the matter was spoken about extensively, and the Speaker gave his directions. He was very unequivocal about the fact that anybody who does anything to put Parliament into dispute will have himself or herself to blame. Mr. Speaker has some plans for when he returns, so we'll have to wait for when he comes back, and then he will deal with the matter. But I can assure you that Parliament is not resting on the matter at all. We take it with all the seriousness that should be taken with, and Parliament is not going to hold brief for any member who finds himself or herself in that situation.
When did the Speaker receive this letter you're talking about?
Well, the letter is dated sometime in January, so the matter has been at Mr. Speaker's attention from that time.
So, but what happens to MPs by way of their rules engaged in this fraudulent act?
Well, there are rules and regulations governing the acts or inactions of members of Parliament. The first one is that if you do anything that brings the name of Parliament into disrepute, Mr. Speaker, based on his discretion, may refer you to the Privileges Committee, or certain punitive actions will be taken against you. As I have indicated, Mr. Speaker has planned some punitive actions against the members involved, and when he comes, these things will be rolled out. He is very upset about the fact that members of Parliament would be found in such situations, and members are encouraged, to desist from things like that.
But I also do know that they have immunity. Can they be prosecuted?
Well, the laws are clear. The law didn't say that members cannot be prosecuted if they did anything wrong. He just said that they cannot be, served with summons on their way to and from, attending upon the House of Parliament and stuff like that.
So what happens to their diplomatic passports? Will they be withdrawn?
Well, I cannot tell you that now, but you will find out in good time, what will happen with that. But there are moves to ensure that people who hold, at least members and staff of Parliament who hold not ordinary passports, conduct themselves in such a manner that they don't abuse the courtesies that are attendant with the passports that they hold.
So as it stands now, does Parliament get involved in getting diplomatic passports for visas for members of Parliament? And if they are not, or if it is not, would they have a role to play in that regard?
All along, Parliament has a role in the acquisition of passports and visas for members and staff of the institution. The director and directorate of the protocol, that is their mandate, to ensure that members acquire the necessary documents, to enable them to travel internationally, as well as staff. So anybody who is a staff or who is a member of Parliament here, if they want to travel, the process you go through is that you indicate to the administration, as the clerk through the deputy clerks, that I want to travel on this and that date. I'll be grateful if assistance will be given to me. If you want to travel with somebody, already would have your data. So the data will include the people who are dependent on you and who will benefit from that facility. Now, anybody outside of that, the office will not be able to assist you with. So most of the members who travel and staff, myself included, we go through the process. We write a letter to the protocol, to the clerk minutes it to the protocol department, and then they assist us in acquiring the visas and passports.
Okay, we have been speaking to Ms. Kate Addo, who is the Acting Public Affairs Director of Parliament. Over to you in the studios.
All right, so that was Evelyn Tingma, my colleague, TV3's parliamentary correspondent, and she's joining us again. That was actually earlier in the day. Right now, though, she is also in Parliament on the same matter and has been joined by a few members of Parliament to pick their reactions to what they make of the fact that some colleagues of theirs have been cited in this drama. So we'll let Evelyn tell us what's happening.
In Accra, and it has to do with the visa fraud issue by some members of Parliament. And of course, this is denting the image of Parliament, and some members of Parliament are worse. And so we will want to speak to an honourable member here, MP for Keta, Honourable Richard Kwashiga, and find out a few things from him. Good afternoon, sir, and you live on TV3 News.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your audience.
So I'm sure you have heard about the visa fraud issue regarding some members of parliament. I mean, as a member of parliament, how is this affecting you personally?
Well, obviously, anything that affects other colleagues affects all of us. And this is an issue that has to do with visa, British visa. And it's quite a low one, very disturbing. And obviously, it's not a matter that is within just the borders of Ghana, but it obviously has become international. And we obviously feel very embarrassed about it. It's most unfortunate. But then again also, it's a pointer to the fact that we must be careful not to yield to all kinds of demands from constituents. I personally have had situations where constituents will come to me, seeking support, as in procuring visas and all that. However, you explain that you don't have the ability to do that. Some of them don't. Some of them just won't believe you, and it puts MPs under intense pressure. Those who are unable to bear the pressure probably ends up doing what is untoward. So this should be a lesson to all of us. We are indeed very, very disturbed about it. I must indicate that we heard about it earlier, and but what we also understood was that the British High Commissioner said he was dealing with it confidentially, and but haven't gone out to put it in the public domain if indeed he was the one who did it. Obviously, it's also a breach of faith. And you don't expect diplomats to say one thing and do the other. That is not in any way to justify what some colleagues have done. But we also thought that when there are very delicate matters, they also ought to be handled, in a manner, that will not also be a breach of confidence in one party. So it's sad, it's most unfortunate. But again, also this should tell our constituents that being a member of parliament does not make you an alpha and omega. It doesn't mean that you can do everything, and so it's disturbing, I must say. It's really, really disturbing and very worrying, and we were very sad about it. I think that it's said that mistakes are teachers. This obviously is teaching us not to do certain things that we are not supposed to do.
So do you think this could affect you acquiring visas to the United Kingdom?
Yeah, of course. I think that the High Commissioner has made that clear. But it's also going to be unfair to use the error of one or a few people, to punish the entire lot. We think that there is a matter that leadership and the British High Commission will have to sit down and resolve. I thought that some process like that had begun, and the reason for which it's a bit surprising, the turn of events. We also understand that he's sent copies to other embassies, but I don't think the style and approach of this particular High Commissioner sits well with a lot of people. Oftentimes we see the penchant of wanting to even meddle in local activities in this country, and I don't think that a diplomat should get to that extent. But well, I wouldn't want to go into those. I think the act is very regrettable. And we find it most unfortunate as members of parliament, and we will just have to take issues in their strides as they come. Yeah, so that's what I can say about it for now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right. So we have been speaking to Honorable Richard Kwashiga. He is the MP for Keta, and we will also be trying to talk to some other members of parliament. But as you know, the members of the Public Accounts Committee are sitting currently, and so it's difficult to get other members out for us to talk to them. But we will talk to as much as many of them as possible, so that we will bring you up to speed what members of parliament are thinking about this development. My name is Evelyn Tinkma, coming to you live from the Parliament House. Over to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Evelyn Tinkma. She is our correspondent in Parliament. And we would go back to Parliament, though, to go and talk about that big issue that has to do with auctioning. I beg your pardon, auctioning, not auctioning. Auctioning, where an auctioneer engaged by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture between 2011 and 2013 to auction old vehicles failed the work, but was paid for not doing what it was supposed to do. According to the Auditor General's report for the year under review, the auctioneer, out of 491,553 made from the auction, took 7% of that amount. This was made known when the Ministry of Food and Agriculture appeared before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament.
How much have you collected as your payment?
When we auction, is the money that we have collected, our percentage is based on the amount of money we have in hand.
So, assuming that you've collected 10,000, your commission is 7% of 10,000.
10,000.
But if the total auction amounted to, let's say, 100,000, and you have collected only 10,000, your commission should be 7% of the 10,000.
Of the 10,000.
Not the 100,000.
Yes.
And that is all you've collected.
Yes, sir.
Now, according to yourself, they have distributed the vehicles before they call you. What work did you do?
Chief, Honorable Chairman, the thing is, when we have the authority letter from the Chief of Staff, there is a clause which says that saloon cars should be given to staff. That one, those who haven't benefited for such. And sometimes when you get this, there are no saloon cars inside. And I know that sometimes when you are doing advert, they say you should inform the staff if they are interested. They will come and bid for it. But in some circumstances, sometimes when they feel when they don't get it, they feel aggrieved as if like there are cars that you are selling and some people from outside come and buy them. So in this case, we sometimes due to some are going on retirement, we normally consider them that okay, if we consider one or two people, but not all of them per se.
The auctioneer is not being truthful with this committee, and I'm reminding him that you are a candidate for perjury. Please take it that we are not joking. This is a committee of parliament, and all committees of parliament belong to the Speaker of Parliament, who is the third most important person in this republic, the third in command. So you cannot come and sit here and just dance around questions. If you are not ready, as I said, you can ask us to defer this sitting, you come back. Because from where I sit, yes, the public servants didn't do well, but you didn't do a professional work.
I think the sentiments of the Speaker of that particular committee sums it all up. Here are some of the figures of the things that particular auctioneer, who was laughing at the matter, brought before the committee. A Nissan Patrol with registration number GV1285U was auctioned for 4,000 Ghana cedis. Look at the amount, 4,000 Ghana cedis. Look at the car, a Patrol, a Nissan Patrol. That is one. Secondly, another Nissan Patrol, this time a double cabin pickup, and that's the registration number GV1481U, was sold for 2,000 Ghana cedis. 2,000. Well, and that's him in the picture in the background, broadly smiling for doing such a disservice to Ghana. A Mitsubishi double cabin pickup also went for a shocking 1,000 Ghana cedis, and a Galaxy motorcycle was sold for 30 Ghana cedis, while an FI motorcycle was also sold at 50 Ghana cedis. So that was what he was explaining to the Committee of Parliament, and was making it sound like it was really something he couldn't do much about. And that was why the Speaker of the committee was quite unhappy with him. We would want to speak to an anti-corruption crusader, Adam Senanu. He is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, about this. Adam, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, sir, and to your viewers and listeners as well.
Should we be surprised, looking at the fact that something like this, and this is not the first time the Auditor General's report seemed to have cited people for selling state property at shocking prices, but at this particular sitting, it seemed to have been taken beyond the expectation of many. What's the surprise factor here? Is there any?
Well, I think that something terribly wrong may be going on, because for any auctioneer to think that they can get away with this kind of thing, it probably means that the supervisory systems we have are really not working, and so people know that they can just have their own private arrangement and do the wrong things. It also means that our audit report implementation committees, that by law, Section 31 of the Audit Service Act requires that MDAs and MMDAs have these in place, and they are to ensure the review and implementation of such Auditor General reports, including prosecution when necessary. I think that there's a great weakness in the execution of that function of our governance structure.
There are questions about what the Public Accounts Committee should do with regard to some of these concerns, because at the end of that particular sitting, he was just cautioned, and there are those who are saying he's been left off the hook. Several people have come before this committee. We hardly hear of any sanctions or decisions to call them to order or ask them to repay, or any level of punishment. What do you make of the Public Accounts Committee? Do they not have the teeth to bite?
Well, yes, that has been a major concern for all of us anti-corruption crusaders. Clearly, we need some legal reforms to provide more concrete results from these type of actions. It is not adequate or sufficient to just have the discussions at the committee level, and then the sanctions and enforcement of things that should follow are not very well executed. Yes, there's a sense in which we don't think that the PAC has the teeth to bite, and if they are not going to be given that legal authority, we should have some other mechanism to ensure that corporates don't get away with this kind of murder.
And what would your suggestion be if they are to call on you to say, well, we want to ensure that we don't have a recurrence of such an issue? What would your suggestions be?
I think that we should really be looking at either expanding their mandate or ensuring that the Auditor General and in its relationship with the Attorney Generals for prosecution, they probably need a special unit that follows up on the criminal actions that arise from some of these things. It looks like the linkage between the results from the Auditor General and the necessary prosecutions where it matters don't happen. Again, the linkage with the audit report implementation committees needs to be strengthened.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Adam Senanu, for your time. He is an anti-corruption crusader and co-chair for the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. This is still Midday Live on TV3. Later in our subsequent bulletins, Evelyn Tingma will come through with revelations from today's sitting of the Public Accounts Committee as well. We'll be back with more. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with TV3. This is still Midday Live, and we go on to some other stories for you this afternoon. And some irate youth of Sagnarigu district of the Northern Region have gone on rampage in protest against the newly appointed district chief executive, Idrisu Mariama. They burnt ties at the roundabout of the Tamale Sports Stadium to express their dissatisfaction with the president's appointment.
Led by the local youth chief of the area, who also doubles as their chairman, they burnt waste bins in front of the district assembly. Chairman of the NPP in the area, Adam Musa Zaki, explained they do not know the newly appointed district chief executive for the area, warning they will not cooperate with her if the president fails to revoke the appointment. The rampaging youth threatened to burn offices of the district assembly. All workers of the assembly deserted the office for fear of their lives. Officials of the assembly refused to comment on the issue, saying that only the coordinating director is mandated to speak to the matter. A member of the MPP youth, Yakubu Abubakari, insisted they had worked hard for the party, noting their unwillingness to cooperate with the new DCE. The group, however, failed to mention a name as their preferred candidate for the position.
Let's stay on that issue because the Northern Regional Police Command has granted bail to 11 supporters of the New Patriotic Party in Sagnarigu constituency who were picked up on the evening of Wednesday, April 26, 2017 for engaging in unlawful demonstration. The 11 were among some supporters who burnt car tires at the Tamale Sports Stadium roundabout in protest against the president's nominee for district chief executive for the Sagnarigu district. This, the police reveals, is against the law, hence the arrest. The command, however, revealed the 11 will be arraigned before court. The Northern Regional Police Commander ACP Patrick Eduse Sapon spoke to TV3. All right, so he spoke to TV3 and we'll let you know exactly what he said and reasons behind their release. But we've been joined by Zubaida Ismail. She's TV3's Northern Regional Correspondent. Zubaida, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Martin.
What were the reasons for the release or the bail for these gentlemen? 11, we are told.
Yes, according to the Regional Police Commander, ACP Sapon, what they did was bailable, and so per human rights, they are supposed to be granted bail and then be arraigned before court. According to him, the demonstration wasn't the issue because they had a right to demonstrate against anything, but the fact that they didn't inform the police, one, and also another fact that they went ahead to ban tires in the middle of the road, that prevented other road users from using the road, are the reasons why they were arrested. And so for those reasons, they can't be kept under police custody for more than 24 hours. And that is how come they had to grant them bail this morning, and then they are processing them for court.
And what's the latest with regard to the youth disagreements? Are they still demonstrating, or there is some level of calm now?
There is some level of calm that is talking about Sagnarigu and Savolugu, which also encountered some form of chaos. But Yendi, they are currently demonstrating against the choice of the president for the NC as well. And so now we can say that for Sagnarigu and Savolugu, there is calm. But Yendi is currently the heat, it is in the middle of the heat right now in connection with the same issue.
All right. Thank you very much, Zubaida, for your time. She's TV3's Northern Regional Correspondent, Zubaida Ismail. And we'll keep you posted on the developments with regard to the president's appointments to DCE's positions, because across the country there are disagreements, but not degenerating into violence like we are saying in Sagnarigu. Time now, though, for business.
Business segment is brought to you by
All right, let's do business now. And a few hours after TV3 reported the invasion of army worms on cocoa farms within the Asiedu-Dartey and Mampong municipalities of the Ashanti region, the Ghana Cocoa Board has stepped up its game and gone in to intervene. The Cocoa Health Extension Division of Cocoa Board has presented several boxes of insecticides to affected cocoa farmers to control the spread of the pests.
Following a report on the plight of farmers in 25 cocoa growing communities within the Asiedu-Dartey and Mampong municipalities, help has come. The farmers were on the verge of losing their investments to the invasion of army worms. The pests have within 2 days destroyed over 30 acres of cocoa farms in the affected communities. The pests moved from one farm to the other despite the application of insecticides to control them. The Mampong Cocoa Health Extension Division of Cocoa Board has stepped in to rescue affected cocoa farmers. On Monday, the division supplied free insecticides to 15 out of the 25 affected communities to control the pests. Mampong District Extension Coordinator of CHED, Asiedu-Dartey, says the insecticides are effective in the control of army worms.
We came here with a master from Cocoa Board then to give to the farmers so that they can spray. We even added them premise. The farmers who are having machines, but when it came, it's not that efficient. Looking at the extent of devastation, you have to help them with it. So we come up with some motorized machines and add to what they are having.
Some affected farmers commended TV3 for prompting the swift response from authorities with the hope the insecticides will help them recoup some of their losses. Mrs. Asiedu-Dartey advised the farmers to report any unusual pest invasion on their farms to the district agric office. The second batch of insecticide distribution to the remaining 10 affected communities is expected to continue.
All right, this is still Midday Live on TV3. When we do return, we'll let you know what's happening in the world of sports. But later tonight, there's a Manchester derby, Manchester United versus Man City. We'll be getting details shortly. Stay with us. In entertainment this afternoon, dancehall star Stonebwoy chalked another major career success after leaving the high-grade family to be on his own. Kofi Kinata, on the other hand, says that he also has come under severe pressure to follow that trend. What is keeping Kofi Kinata with the high-grade family, which is currently being led by Batman Samini, and why wasn't he on Sarkodie's trumpet? Here's a report by Ajua Amofa Osei.
But you know, actually, some people have kind of like turned it into like something like a boozman song.
Someone who want to booze will booze with even hymns. When you play hymns, you booze. So
You're right on that score. Do you plan on partnering with the Road Safety Commission with this particular song? Since even at the end of the video, you have like, don't drink and drive and stuff like that.
Yeah, we had that in mind. We are on the same course. I'm preaching about don't drink and drive, safety driving and stuff like that. And they are doing the same thing, so it will be nice.
Now let's talk about the industry very briefly. We have the likes of Sarkodie doing tracks and then having a whole bunch of other artists on the track. For instance, Sarkodie's trumpet had like a whole bunch. We had T-Flow, we had Strongman, and like. However, we didn't see you there. Was it like maybe you were called and you weren't interested, or maybe the call didn't come at all?
Sarkodie inboxed me on Twitter, told me about the track. I took the instrumentals, I told my manager, and I think he didn't like the idea. So I told Sarkodie and it was cool. He was like, oh yeah, you are under some kind of management, and if they are not cool with it, we have a lot of stuff that we can do. So I moved on.
Okay, you're with High Grade, right? Yeah. Now we have the likes of Stoneboy, who was also a high grade, but didn't make that much of an impact. He had to move on and become his own person, set up his own thing, and then he's doing really good. Did you at any point get pressure from anybody, whether it's your fans, whether it's family, whatever it is, to maybe at some point just move away a little bit and do your own thing?
Yeah, I hear stuff like that a lot, but...
How is the pressure? Like, how, from a scale of 1 to 10, like
9.5. Yeah, they make a whole lot of noise. They say their minds, and they will do that to like release a banger, and they will stop and they will start, hey, Kofi, they forget about their complaints and stuff. I think if I'm forecasting, what's it more you be you know, or say you be something might be good for somebody, but it wouldn't be good for you. Yeah, somebody will move and succeed. Somebody, I think he graduated. He didn't move, but while I graduate, and with time I also graduate. I'm still learning.
So I'm just speaking with Kofi Kinata, 3-time winner at the 2017 VGMAs, High Life Artist of the Year, High Life Song of the Year, as well as Songwriter of the Year. And that's all. I'll see you later.
All right, so that's Solis Rose Quote with entertainment news. Let's find out what's happening elsewhere around the world now. We're going straight to the United States, where the U.S. says it plans to activate a missile defense system in South Korea within days and tighten economic sanctions against North Korea. The announcement from the Trump administration comes amidst rising fears about the North Korea's military advances. The system was originally not expected to be in use until late 2017. Many South Koreans oppose it, fearing they may become targets. Now, North Korea has vowed to conduct more missile and nuclear tests in the coming days. That's what's happening between U.S. and North Korea. Let's come down to Africa, where a Somali man has been sentenced to life in prison by a U.S. judge for his role in an attack on a U.S. Navy ship some 7 years ago. Mohammed Farah and 5 other Somali pirates attacked the U.S. ship in 2010 off the coast of Djibouti. And on that note, we bring the bulletin to a close. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Thank you very much for watching. There is more news on our website, 3news.com. Do visit and get updated. Until later, do have a good afternoon, and as always, stay positive. Bye for now.